4, 3, and we're live. So awesome. Hey, welcome everybody to the full moon in May SpiritSide chats. It's so good to have you all on. And a special welcome to Karen, who is brand new to the SpiritSide chats. It's a friendly new face.
Welcome, Karen.
Hear a little bit about me. I'm from San Francisco right now. I'm staying here. And I've been a big fan of the show, and I've been most recently opening up myself into receiving certain connections. And a friend of mine told me, I was just talking to her, and I'm like, well, why do I connect to certain people? And then she was like, well, you're not looking. So here I am, reaching out.
That's amazing, actually, that you took that step. I remember, we referenced this movie in one of the recent health videos, Vegucated, but like in it, you know, one of the girls she's like trying to go vegan for like 6 weeks or something like that. And like about 5 weeks in, she's like, I'm really struggling because my family eats all this bad food and she doesn't have like a support community. And that was one of the biggest things. The advice that they gave her was like, you should really like reach out and find like a community of people who share in the same perspective, because that's what's going to like elevate everybody. It makes it easier when you have people that you're living and doing it with.
Yeah.
So welcome. Great.
Thank you.
You picked a good group too. I can say from my experiences with all of these people who are on this call, I've had just wonderful experiences connecting and communicating with all of them.
Yeah, I'm honestly really grateful. And then I'll try to be as much as possible to be aware and be insightful in our conversations as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, we need more of that female energy too, so it's great. It's perfect. So normally, you know, we often start off the calls with like a bit of a meditation. And Aaron, you normally lead them. I was wondering if you wanted to do it, or if you'd like a break this week, I could take it, or anything like that.
We could always do more than one. I do have a little meditation prepared, but if you want to add anything to it or continue on from there, I'd be happy to extend it. Have another one.
That sounds cool. Or be like one sort of extended one. I'm going to say, why don't you take it off, and then if like at the end of it, if I feel compelled to continue it, then we'll do that. And otherwise, It'll be perfect. It's always perfect.
Totally. What I had prepared a space for today was another mantra, similar to last time, but this time I wanted to go to one of the more introductory mantras, I think is often how it's called, or a beginner mantra, but this one here is referred to as very simply the peace mantra. And so this one here is, I want to actually refer to it as often some of the most moving or the most powerful mantras, because there's so many people throughout time that have connected with this specific concept, the idea of spreading and sharing peace, that as you think about this, as you start to breathe into the idea of contemplation of peace, this energy flows through you. And so the mantra in Sanskrit is essentially Om to the Creator, peace, peace, peace. And it's just your thoughts now go from, instead of worrying about political, or I'm worrying about, you know, life on this planet, and it just sets all that aside for a moment and says, let me in this moment focus on the idea of peace, and just allowing peace to exist, and being peace the attention of my thoughts. So the Sanskrit word for peace is Shanti, S-H-A-N-T-I, Shanti. And so the mantra is just Om, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So it's a very simple, it's just peace, peace, peace. And as you breathe, you just allow the idea of peace to permeate through your body. And so just in this moment, take a deep breath. and allow your thoughts, allow your attention to focus towards peace. Within your mind, you can repeat the mantra, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. 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 Taking with us the energy and the idea of peace, bringing it back to our present moment, and allowing us in this moment to express peace and to move forward with the energy, the momentum of peace to the world around us. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all feeling peaceful?
It definitely makes a difference. I can say too, like expanding on that and taking mantras like this and doing it extended over a longer period. I've had a bit of a practice these last 3 days or so of doing almost like hour-long meditation sessions, several of them a day. And some of them are repeating mantras over and over through some of the stuff that Aaron has shared with me, Maha, Jriya, and stuff like that. The results of doing like these long meditations and kind of really exploring the inner self, I have to say is almost comparable, like, because I've been doing a lot of fasting, you know, and like my meditations have been, I mean, I meditated regularly, but not to that extent of like 3 hours a day sort of thing. And it's almost, I want to say comparable to fasting in the sense of like deep cleansing, but it, you know, it's happening more on a different level, where fasting, you're like triggering the physical, deep cellular cleansing within your body. Through the meditation, it's like you're doing the same thing, but through your emotional cells or your mental cells, if you will, and spiritual cells, which then of course trickle down, and then you act with more, like physically you're acting with more awareness and consciousness in every moment. So yeah, meditation.
Yeah, personally, I haven't really ever meditated with using like chants or anything like that. So this is new to me, but I feel like saying it in the original Sanskrit can really help, because I feel words have power to them, right, in the frequency. But in the original context, I don't know, to me it just seems like it has more to it. And if I want to try it, I want to try it out, because I usually just meditate for like a good half hour or so on my own. But with I'm going to try adding these mantras and stuff to it. I think it'd be a good positive reinforcement.
I want to suggest try both. I mean, there are certain meditations where stillness of mind, essentially like a no thought, just observing yourself, is a deep and powerful meditation. And there are other times when being like, okay, I've observed myself, but now I want to focus myself on peace or on compassion or on any one particular mantra to get a deeper flavor of that consciousness. in my practice, I will have some meditations where it's just no thought and very still, very silent, and other meditations where I love chanting and doing mantras and getting very vocal and active and moving and like even eyes open. There's meditations called affixity, or you essentially like observe a spot in creation in front of you, but allow yourself to go into the meditative Zen mode while your eyes are still open. And so like meditation practices like that are very, very fun to push those boundaries. But yeah, no, definitely.
I'll also presence another form of meditation that I've also been doing, especially recently, is sort of like it's like living or playing a video game in your mind within yourself. This one, I had an experience recently which really challenged me to really go into myself and like go through the depths of my own ego and like kind of humbly look at myself and my past actions, and really, face myself on a deep level. And so like I went into a meditation where I basically said like, I'm going into my sacral, and in going into my sacral, I sort of had this like visualization of, oh my goodness, like it's as if the walls, like I'm in this dark labyrinth with like gooey walls and everything like that, and like what's the cause of this? And it was like going through my inner psyche as if it was a little bit like a video game to get to the core of what was causing all of this like goo and darkness within my own self, and then to like resolve the problem within myself so that then like the light could kind of return and I could change. And actually, like, since doing that completing that meditation and kind of like finding out sort of the source of some of my 7 deadly sins, gluttony and lust and what have you, I've actually experienced a tremendous shift in like my eating habits and my general actions and my focus that I can apply to, which I already thought was good, but it's like, wow, like you always only find out in the contrast of like how much farther you can go by like seeing the difference of like where you were and then where you go to. And so like the balance, I mean, there's so many different forms of meditation, and Aaron and I we actually recently planned out, like in the last 2 or 3 days, we planned out the entire like moving forward Spirit Science health series, and like, or health series is, because it's gonna be like we're talking, there's like the nutritional health, but then there's like active health and like yoga and exercise and all these Ayurveda and stuff like that. And then it goes into like emotional health and mental health and spiritual health, and like planning out like what applies and what topics apply to each one of these. And like we were kind of like, for the spiritual health, we're planning on like doing a bunch of videos about meditation, but like the core point was, it's not about any specific meditation being right. It's the fact that you're meditating alone, which leads to spiritual health. And so that was really fun. And yeah, like as far as meditation goes, really, and for everybody watching too, like I would encourage playing with all different forms of meditation and really find what works the best for you and what is most resonant for you. And I remember one thing that Aaron shared with me before was, because his sister actually is a yoga instructor, among other many other wonderful things. But she was describing at one point, and they were having a big conversation about how like yoga is so much more than just, kind of like spiritual stretching, if you will. Like there's many forms of yoga, but all forms of yoga are actually meditations. So those will probably go in both categories, because it's very physical in that regard, but it's also very spiritual. And then of course, when you have all of those together, then you create healing both emotionally and mentally as well.
In addition to that, I wanted to add, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard that each chakra has a specific noise or sound itself. So if you can, it has almost a letter to each chakra. For example, the heart chakra is an O, and the sacral chakra is an M. So together would be Om, and that's almost peace to the world. So if it's
Vitra mantras.
Yeah, if it's easier to start there, you can start with specific chakras and say that it almost gets to a point where the sound becomes you and you become the sound, and just everything around you kind of disappears. So it's a really cool way to start in mantras.
Yeah, I want to say a Bidra mantra, the way I had it explained to me, is like a single syllable, like ah or oh, ha is another one. And so each one of those does resonate on a very specific frequency within your energetic body on a sound level. And tapping into those specific mantras are very simple. You don't have to worry, am I pronouncing this correctly type of a thing. And it definitely does dissolve the, we'll say, like the physical container that we often confine our own consciousness within. It's like, I am this body, and this body's having all these thoughts and experiences, and we often like to limit ourselves into these little containers. But as you start vibrating and you start to sort of tune in with the vibration of your human container, you start to realize that all those cells are connected to something bigger, and that starts to unravel the mystery. And so, yeah, I have had a lot of really fun practices from doing specific Bidra mantras exactly like that. Yeah, definitely.
I was going to say something about what Trisha said earlier about the saying the mantras in the original Sanskrit, and I completely agree with Aaron on the frequencies. There's another factor that I don't know if it was considered though, and that is in ceremonial magic and in Wicca, a lot of your and power phrases and things are either in Latin, Gaelic, something like that, and it's to capitalize on a process that will allow you to send an intention from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind, bypassing the psychic sensor, because it's not in your common language that you speak every day. So while you may understand what it means, you don't think in that language. So saying it doesn't bring up those same guards in your mind that would block an intention from reaching your subconscious. That's all I had.
I hear you. I like that. That's really good.
Have you guys ever tried meditating with, I don't know what these, they're like these discs, and you can have like, I think they go in sets of like 5 or 12. You basically, like, you meditate with them and you put them on each of your chakra. And I'm trying, the name of the discs are escaping me, but they're these really kind of like, they're like this thick and maybe like this big, you know. And they're really interesting because you put them on each of your chakras and you kind of meditate. Well, you go into like a meditative state, right? But like, I don't know, whenever I've tried these particular discs, like you can like feel each of your chakras like very distinctly. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Sounds like you're describing some form of crystal healing and or like a jade stone massage. Like I've seen lots of studios practice laying stones along your chakra energetic system exactly for that practice. Exactly.
Yeah, it has to do with crystals in it, but it's like a I'll have to figure out the name of it. I'll have to discover it.
Are they Reiki stones and they have engraved each chakra symbol?
No, they're literally like these white discs that are this big, and they have like a plastic covering to them. And on the inside, there's something intricate with like there's like some, I think it's the Metatron's cube on the inside, and then some crystals. It's inside of these discs that they have some very particular, I guess, healing property that if you put them on the chakras, then it does something special. I'll have to look them up because they're like, I think you can only get them in Brazil, and like they're very hard to get outside of the country, and it's an interesting thing. I'll have to get the name of it though.
Described with it being inside and with the plastic cover. It sounds like an orgone energy accumulator that's been modified to have the Metatron's cube sacred geometry.
Actually, yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I would like a set of those.
Organized pyramids like this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's like, I'm assuming on the inside it's something like that, but I'll have to find the name of it when I'll type it in the chat when I get to it.
Okay,
Cool.
Awesome.
Something
Sounds
really
cool.
interesting for like with meditation. I'm gonna look it up.
That sounds very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've had similar experiences of like just taking crystals themselves and like, you know, laying crystals on the body, but like, yeah, like the more like refined, well, I mean, crystals are already very perfect in their geometry, but you know, like putting the orgon together or whatever. That sounds powerful.
Reich explained.
Okay. In terms of, you mentioned it. So the Metatron's cube is the two pyramids put together. Is that correct?
It's a little more than that.
Metatron's cube is basically all of the 5 platonic solids superimposed on top of each other, and they like fit together perfectly. And then it also, like, if you took, for example, like the flower of life or the seed of, or all of the like flower, fruit, seed, and tree of life, and like those would also like superimpose on top of that perfectly. And like Metatron's cube is like the left brain aspect because it's all the straight lines that connect all the points on the flower of life, whereas the flower of life and subsequent geometries are like the female with the circles that make up where you get the straight lines from.
Sorry, my question was, not too long ago, I had my own experience, and I kind of like felt my own Merkaba for the first time. It was really insane. So I wanted to know, I haven't been able to do that since, and like any suggestions or meditations towards like activating that, or that specific, I didn't know what was going on.
So yeah, actually that would be the difference then. When you're talking about the 2 pyramids superimposed, that's the Merkaba, and that's like, you're right on point there. Well, I'm thrilled this is coming up because this is more incentive and motivation for us to make the Merkaba meditation spirit science like series, and like, which is like not only education but like how to do it. But that said, in the meantime, because it's coming and we've got a lot in the works, but to do it now, the first and biggest thing is love, is really like love. You can activate your higher self, your Merkaba, your energy field, just through really breathing in your heart, meditating on your heart, asking, connecting with your higher self and saying, support me, help me learn how to like breathe into my heart and breathe into my Merkaba, into my energetic field. And then if you want more like specific, like more male, like left brain practices, which is necessary for a lot of people, but not for everybody. Like some people can just sort of like breathe and then, wow, I'm there, it's here, it's all around me. And for others, you need a little bit more like, here's like a step-by-step kind of logical instruction. And for those people, my highest recommendation is to actually get the Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, Volume 2, and read chapters 12, 13, and 14. And those chapters specifically are concerned with the Merkaba, how to create it, and like very, very specific instruction on every single step. And I know just from my own experiences, when Aaron and I together actually went through that one afternoon, and like we were like, we're not stopping until we learn this meditation. And at the end of the day, we were both like buzzing and glowing, basically, with like, holy crap, this is powerful, this meditation. And since then, it's become sort of a regular. So much fun. It's really good. It's become a regular part of my meditation practices, actually, is like doing that specific meditation almost as like a preliminary to other meditations, because the Merkaba itself is like, the reason why it's powerful and significant is because the tetrahedron in and of itself is the simplest geometry that exists in 3 dimensions. Like, you've got, if you imagine like you've got dimension 1 or 0, you've got like a point, then you've got a line, and then you've got a plane. Well, the next step is like a 3-dimensional tetrahedron. Like a cube is more complex, right? And the tetrahedron is fire. And so then when you have like 2 of them, basically, and they act as like the polarities of yin and yang of this basic simple geometry, within that structure contains the foundation for all of the other geometries that exist. And so it is like essentially connecting with your highest possible geometric form in your energy field, if you will. Like if this physical body is, the compound makeup of all of the platonic solids and all of these different elements and molecules with so many different geometries and shapes that are all working together to like create this very complex body of consciousness, your Merkaba would be subsequently like the simplest geometry beyond, like next to your formless conscious self, that is manifest here, both in this dimension and in higher ones. And that's basically why the Merkaba.
Almost like awake there, or like be born there. I've heard different terms.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Do you have to kind of like awake into like awake to be there, or like be born there?
Yeah, it's actually it's beautiful that you're bringing this up too, because the basics of Hermeticism, which is actually one of the original, or actually if not one of, it is like the original form of science going back to like ancient Egypt, and is actually like modern science is Hermeticism with the mysticism taken out. But in Hermeticism, like the basis of it is like spiritual rebirth over and over, because every time you experience rebirth, and every time you are reborn, it's like you're uncovering a deeper part of yourself and a new part of yourself. And so as you kind of described experiencing with your kind of entering into your Merkaba the first time and this like new feeling, right? Like when you do it again and you continue to practice it over and over, you continue to find deeper parts of yourself, and it will feel like a rebirth. And I think that's also like the basis of what was at the core of like born again Christianity, even. Like it's that concept of rebirth that was applied then to Christianity to be like, wow, like I experienced Christ, I experienced, you know, the love of Christ, and now I'm walking this path. And obviously, like you can like that would be what Buddhism calls like becoming enlightened, or what, you know, well, like, you know, the ancient Egyptians or Greeks would call, you know, spiritual rebirth and whatnot. And they're all really forms of the same thing. But I guess, yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you. This is a great topic to bring up.
I'm so happy you guys brought it up. It's I always find sacred geometry to be like really, really interesting. I don't know if you guys ever tried out actually drawing out the shapes and everything, but oh man, I started doing that like a month ago, and it just like blows my mind. Like I already thought it was super interesting, but then you go in and you start like actually understanding the lines and the intricacies of it, and it's just like, it's so cool. It's incredible.
Seriously.
Yeah. Like I don't know, it's like something unlocks in your head. You're just like, this makes sense on a whole nother level. Like
I think a big reason of me even understanding that I was in my Merkaba, because I have been taking sacred geometry in school, and when I was there, I'm like, oh, okay, this is what this is, but I have no idea what to do.
Did you say you took sacred geometry in school?
I haven't. I go to the Academy of Art, which is just a school here in San Francisco, an art school, and they have just like a hidden class called Sacred Geometry.
Oh, amazing!
That's really cool.
They give us a lot of information, a lot of books, a lot of references. So very recommended. I would love to, like, I have like a book, and they basically like, you buy a sketchbook and you kind of set your intention in the first page, and you say like, this is my intention for the book. And then every single page, it's a new drawing, and so many things, beautiful things come from it.
Wow.
Nice. I actually had an experience last Sunday. Well, Aaron and I do like a weekly sound meditation just at a local yoga studio, where we just kind of show up and play singing bowls for like an hour, and anybody who wants to come, they just come and lie down and have like an amazing time. And I was there. Yeah, that's one of them. But I actually showed up like 2 hours ahead of time this last week, just on like intuition. And there was a giant painting of the Flower of Life in that room. That's actually the guy who owns the studio actually painted himself. And I basically like sat there for almost an hour and a half, like playing my own, like the singing bowls that I brought, and like staring at the Flower of Life. And I like, it was like both like, it would like bring me to tears, and then like I would just be like kind of lost in my mind, and like all of a sudden like I would feel like different parts of my brain like changing by like observing different patterns that I hadn't experienced before, or noticing like as I would observe the whole thing together, like certain parts were more in focus than the others. And like when I bring the other parts into focus, like that would activate different centers of my brain. And so I want to say, like, not only just drawing it, but like putting it all around you, like making, like looking at it and meditating while staring at some sacred geometry is also like a really powerful experience.
Agreed.
I think that, like, I feel like it almost like connects to the points around us and kind of like balances even just like the energy around us. So even just putting it in walls, it's just a balancing. It just creates the vibration much higher. That's why in other places that are built on sacred geometry is just so much beautiful, and you can feel it. So even just having it, it's a very beautiful first step.
Yeah, no, I remember researching when I was getting more into things like symbolism in general. There's an entire degree to which, like, if you're focusing on the symbol is one thing, but even just being subliminally around sacred geometry and things of that nature, like there's a part of your subconscious and your energetic self that's going to be picking up information from these symbols, maybe at a level that even your brain or your mental and emotional self isn't even processing yet. So it's really cool to be able to appreciate that and surround yourself with geometries, with symbolism, with very powerful things that help you sort of break away from your standard conception of your original self. And that process is very, very amazing. But you have to realize at the same time, though, that there are individuals who are also aware of this and have been like sort of putting in imagery into, we'll say, mainstream broadcasting that puts images out there that are not uplifting to our energetic spirit. So there's a certain time when you might get a vibration that goes, oh, what was that? And that was probably like a symbol popped up somewhere in your subliminal consciousness that may be impacting you energetically. So there's a real fun practice of being able to like realize that you can essentially use a symbol to uplift you, but at the same time, like that energy is like you're still degrees above that in experience, you know? So like there's a symbol can uplift you, a symbol can bring you down, but there's a part of you that's, I want to say, transcendent of all of that. And so when you really tap into the mystery of who you are as a person, you can see that the certain symbologies, I almost want to say they start to lose their impact, because it's like if the symbol was a language that connected to a thought or a concept that was manifested down into a physical form, you now transcend the symbol itself, connecting to the deeper source of where that's coming from. And then you can move completely unrestricted in that regard. It's a very, very liberating experience.
That's, I think, good information. Definitely, one of the things my professor says is, I kind of just had this question because I was like, well, is there any one shape that we should truly follow, or that we should really just use as like remembrance of like balance of ourselves? One that could just be a reminder. And she was just like, I don't know if it's about the shape itself, but it's about how you use it. So I think that also correlates to what you were saying.
Mm-hmm. When you said that, I wasn't. It's not necessarily a shape, but I guess it's like a symbol. But I would say like the heart, but not necessarily like, you know, the geometry of the heart. But you potentially, you know, go with that. But even like just the concept and like the actual, your actual heart, because through that you have access to all of them, you know, and in their highest possible resonance as well. So then everything just becomes, yeah, like a tool or a something that is both in service, that you can be in service to, and that is also in service to you in like this natural, harmonious flow. I want to say also, I noticed there's a few additional people who have jumped in here. I Salander and Rise and Alternative. I don't know if those are your real names, but if there's anybody else who wants to speak, oh, and Daniel as well, who has anything that they want to share, like, oh, I'd love to hear from you guys. We would all love to hear from you guys.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, I'll begin then.
Is that Chris?
Yeah, that's exactly who I am.
Hey, man.
Hey, Christopher.
I've returned.
We're so glad to have you back.
I'm glad to be back. So yeah, I found it very interesting what you guys were talking about. I haven't been talking too much because I feel like I don't have too much to add in because I'm quite new to spirituality. So I just kind of like hearing what you guys have to say, and yeah, it's awesome.
Well, I want to just add then, Christopher, if you are new, any of the questions that you have or you're like, this doesn't make sense to me because of these reasons, like bring those forward as questions to find those answers, because those are like oftentimes you would bring behind a question is probably like other people are thinking the same questions. So definitely, if you have anything that you want to openly talk about at the same time, even if you don't have, we'll say, particularly insight to share, your question is an insight. So keep them coming.
All right, I will definitely do that.
There's also, it just popped into my head of like, Aaron and I were planning out like where the parables go, patch parables, and like the parable of the holy man was funny because at the end, the lesson of that parable was like each and every person has like a wisdom and a truth and something that you can learn from. So it's like by bringing a question up, it's like it's not to say like that any of us specifically have the answer, but we all have these unique perspectives, and by like sharing and like discussing all of those different perspectives together, then that like further helps all of us in like understanding deeper.
I'll start with a question.
Yeah.
Someone do that. Okay, so I kind of like understand. I personally like very connected to spirituality, and I'm like working on myself and everything. And I feel like working on myself is helping humanity as well equally. But as I'm healing myself and trying to align myself, I sometimes find issues or judgment when trying to help or heal others, and without sounding like crazy. What do I do? Like,
Yeah.
I hear you.
I actually think that Aaron, I've had a very similar struggle, and I believe that Aaron actually has some very good insight. So I want to pass it over to you at first, and then maybe we'll see if there's any, yeah.
I'll be happy to try and answer this one. Myself personally, I'm a Reiki practitioner, right? So I do energetic healing with people. So I get a similar type of question all the time. I also am a former life insurance salesman and a mutual funds broker. So I know like the complete opposite side of that spectrum, and I've been on both sides. So at this point in time, I share like a pretty good balance and understanding of both. And so the first thing in my level of understanding of energetic healing, and this actually does come from the basic principles of Reiki, is when you're trying to heal another person, that person has to want your gift in the first place. And so if you're, we'll say, going around there and saying like, here, take this, this will help you, but if that person doesn't say that they want help or they don't perceive that they need anything, then that's going to be the first disconnect between you and the person you're trying to work with. So always trying to be all like, well, what are you looking for? Where are you at right now? And what would help you personally? And a lot of times what you're going to find with most people is like a degree of, feeling under-accomplished, or feeling like they're not worth enough, or like they're not aspiring to their higher selves. And this is all very deep, can actually be addressed emotionally and energetically by essentially taking the time within yourself to go deep to the roots of what's preventing you from actually forgiving yourself, from loving yourself, and then being able to move forward with like a degree of confidence and a degree of, like, we'll say, like, no more shame for the mistakes you made in yourself. Like, you're not bound to earlier versions of yourself and the mistakes that they had made. In this moment, you are bound to being more than that, learning from those experiences. And so a lot of times when I'm working with people, when I'm explaining stuff to people, I try and figure out exactly where they are on, we'll say, a spiritual journey. If they're going to be looking at it from a very, we'll say, physical perspective, not spiritually, then I'm not going to go over the top on my, we'll say, everyone is the same consciousness, experiencing different points of view to learn from each other. Like, I'm not going to jump into that. I'm going to say, okay, well, let's look at your thoughts, let's look at your emotions, and then heal them there. And I feel like that's energetically bringing my resonance, but to the point where they are, to create spiritual healing one step at a time, right? So like that's a process that I take to it, because like there are so many amazing teachers and practices out there that have been infinitely uplifting to so many people, and it's just about being willing to share your truth. And as a spiritual healer myself personally, that has been probably the best tool I have ever used. Is being like, look, this was my experience, and I went through some painful situations, and this is who I am. This is my takeaway from these experiences. Like, you can learn from your mistakes, or you can learn from the mistakes of someone else. And so I make it very real to them. And this way, it's not a stretch anymore of like, how is this spiritual concept going to apply to me in my daily life? I take all that away and go straight to you in your daily life and say, like, let's work with that.
Mm-hmm. I want to add a little piece, because I was expecting you to say there's another thing that he's shared with me recently, but this is a perfect opportunity for it, which is in Mahajriya, there's these 21 masks of the ego. And one of the masks in particular is called the savior role. And in that, it's like sort of that sense of your ego that it's like, it's my duty to like save you, or to be your savior, to be your, like provide the thing that's going to allow you to grow. But at the end of the day, like, you can't save anybody, only yourself, because that will to salvation, if you will, really comes from within. And so it really, like, that's the basis of what Aaron was saying, was they have to, everybody has to want their own healing. Like, I actually brought up, I've been going to a chiropractor, and like they offer free sessions to family and friends, just like on the basis of like they really want to help the community, and it's part of their outreach program, sort of thing. And like I brought it up at the dinner table last night to my family, and like half of my family was like, "Oh, that sounds awesome," and then the other half was like, "No, don't even talk about that with me," sort of energy, right? And or like, I'm totally good, and like like that's perfect, to each their own. But like that, if I was in that, that savior role, the experience probably would have been like really like, no, you have to sort of thing. But once I got like the no, and I was like, I just double checked. Are you sure? It's really good. No? Okay. Well, okay. I'm going to let it go then. That was a really big lesson, actually, like not specifically like last night, but just kind of observing where in the past too, that I had been like more forthcoming than like I needed to be, or than what was spiritually right in like sharing these different perspectives. And now it's kind of come to the point where, I mean, we make the videos because it's like we put the videos out there, and like anybody who wants to watch them is going to watch them, but like I don't have to like push them in anybody's faces. And then otherwise, like as I'm going about my day, I'm not like actively looking for ways of like sharing this stuff. It's mostly if it happens very naturally, it'll just happen. But otherwise, it feels like more beneficial for my time not to like try and poke and prod every person to see if they're spiritually like interested in having a conscious conversation, you know. And it seems to be working out, at least for now.
I had two things I wanted to add.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. Hey, I didn't know if y'all could hear me or not. This is Leo. I just want to first of all say thank you, and I send much love and respect and blessings to all of you. Amazing gifts, for sure.
Thank you, Leo. Welcome.
My teacher had shown me was that you can send divine white light to things. Like just while y'all were talking, some emergency vehicles went by my house, right? And so you can send divine white light with them to go to where they're going. Everybody involved, go in it through their bodies and through their heart to give them healing. And you can do this everywhere you are. I do this for loved ones every day. The more you practice this, the stronger it gets. You can influence human beings that you're coming into contact with that might not be about all this if you believe in them and say, you know what, they're getting smarter. They're more about their body and they're more about their well-being. These things, and they're finding information. And you'll watch them over months start being like, hey, I was thinking about this and I was doing that, and they will transform in front of your eyes. That is like the strength and blessing you can give to all that exists.
Definitely.
I agree. I was going to say something similar to that, Crit. Yes, and nice to meet you, Leo.
Mm-hmm.
My Reiki master, one of my Reiki masters, when she was training us for distance healing, one of the things she mentioned is that while with Reiki, you're always to ask permission, you don't have to verbally ask permission. You can send the energy with the request to their spirit, their higher self, that if you're willing to accept this, I give freely. And one way to deal with that, I was going to say to Karen, if they think you're crazy, nothing you do or say is going to change that.
Too true.
And the last thing I was going to say was similar to what Leo had, which was in Ho'oponopono, which is the Hawaiian shaman's healing technique, they focus heavily on the idea that we're all interconnected. And so they don't go and heal a person, right? There was a shaman in 2002 who went to the state hospital in Alaska, and he dealt with the criminally insane ward. He never met with the patients, but he sat with their files and went inside himself and used their 4 power phrases: I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, to deal with what is the root cause in their system of maladies. They all come from one of those phrases can unlock or release the anchors, the limits that hold you back, the fears, all of that. Go inside yourself and work on yourself to such a point you can relieve that resistance you have with the other people. Very much like what Leo was saying, of if you just keep sending the light and don't push it, they will come around and grow on their own.
Beautifully said. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That was all I had.
Well, how often does this group go on? Like, I had just gotten an email and I didn't have Hangouts. Like, I didn't even understand this program. And then I became here and I was like, whoa. And so then I just got caught in the conversation.
No, it's
y'all became my supplementation for the day of education. I was very blessed for that. So thank you. It was all perfect timing.
We're blessed to have you here. And to answer your question, we do these calls every full moon and new moon. Just as a part of like Patreon and stuff like that. So it's if you know, every time there's a full or new moon, and also if you get the notifications on Patreon, you can just like, you know, look out for the notifications. And we usually post like 3 or 4 days before and say, hey, this is when the next hangout is going to be. And then on the day of, like 10-15 minutes before that time that we posted, we post a link, pop it up, and here we are.
I think somebody had a question in the chat.
Oh yeah, would you read it out for us?
Okay. It says, what about sexual healing and the chakras?
Actually, I wish that Vanessa was here because she does a lot of work in that regard. Vanessa being the inventor of shock rubs and the voice of She Patch in the earlier Patch Parables. But as far as sexual healing goes, I mean, that's like that's massive, and I know that not only from my own experiences, but a lot of the people that I've talked to, and like, because there's, you know, the sexual energy is one of the most powerful energy, if not the, it is the creative energy. It is like where creation and life happens. Like that's where children, that's the energy through which children are born and through which you experience. I mean, there's many cultures that believe that you could experience God through very tantric levels of like heightened levels of orgasm, right? But at simultaneously, it can also be one of the most damaging energies as well when not utilized and used properly. And that's part of the reason why we have the struggles that we have in the world today, because we don't know how to use these energies, and we're unaware of what we're doing with our energy. And sometimes the only time that we find out what we've done with our energy is after the damage has been done, and we have to like go back and like work on the healing of it, and like really resolving all of these different energies, not just within ourselves, but those that we've affected. And so it's like all of the, I mean, really, like when you have an experience that affects you on a level of, on that level, it really does affect you through your whole being. And so all of the chakras come into either alignment or rather unalignment in that regard, or they share in, you know, yeah, sort of like, you know, it's like if one tire pops in a car, the whole car is like unusable. You have to change that tire. And so like if you have an experience where, let's say, your sacral chakra gets damaged, then all of the other ones are going to start to like vibrate and kind of match that and like pull you out of alignment. And the healing of it really, I think, takes place also like on all levels. Like you can spend hours and hours meditating, and you can work on healing and resolving these traumas. You can go through doing physical healing, like fasting and changing your diet, and doing enemas, and like all of these like physical things, and like also like yoga and like more exercise things, learning about Ayurveda, and all of those types of things. But also like community and support and like connecting with other people, because in the shared connections and communications with others, you really find more of a deeper resonance within yourself. Like if we are all one, and we're all part of the universe, and the universe is all our collective body, then by experiencing more of the universe and more of each other, do we find deeper parts of ourselves. And sometimes like it's almost like, you know, like if you, here's a good example, like if you're out in nature and you get some poison ivy, most often than not, actually the remedy to the poison ivy actually grows right next to the poison ivy itself. And so it's just as like if you have an experience that causes you to come out of alignment, there's going to be an experience that can like help yin and yang that, and like bring that back into alignment, and bring your whole energy and your whole body of consciousness back into balance. And sometimes that really, like if you have a bad experience with someone, it might not be that person who you're also going to find the same healing with, at least at first, but there might be someone else who had a very similar experience to you. And in the connection and the communication and the friendship between the two of you, or a larger body of community, you might find relief from the trauma and from the thing that you experienced and went through. And so there's a lot of different, like, I mean, there's all of the chakras really, yeah, like come into both, you know, come out of alignment, but also can be like the most powerful support in healing. And it doesn't just apply to sexual healing too, it applies really to all of them. But I've experienced to be one of the most pertinent ones that people are Like a lot of people don't even know that that's the place that they're suffering. That's the place that's actually causing them this depression or this pain or whatever. But it actually relates to an experience that they had when they were younger or what have you, that they might have blocked away or just not thought about.
I want to say, Joshua, what were those 4 key words that you had mentioned?
Yeah, it is, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you.
Bet you that right there would cause tremendous healing in any regard to any of the levels, including this particular one.
I definitely,
I made a mandala with the Sri Yantra, and then those 4 phrases, ring it. I'll send it to you later.
Do it. I would love to see that.
That is that's Ho'oponopono, which is from that's what you're talking about. Beautiful.
Also, welcome, Jocelyn.
Yes.
I
so happy to see you.
I've been having some crazy like chakra activations this month. Holy crazy.
Yeah.
Even tonight, it was one of the strongest full moons. I could barely sleep. I even had a dream about this chat. Tomorrow.
I'm seeing that with a lot. I mean, and myself as well. But like, yeah, like a lot of people are saying similar things. Definitely.
Yeah, I had this crazy experience with my solar plexus chakra where like it's just I guess I'm just gonna get like real quick, but I'll try to like keep it short. But it was like crazy acid reflux, indigestion, but like on a whole other level. Like my entire stomach expanded and I was not assimilating nutrients the same way. And I started freaking out because I literally thought that I was developing a disease this month. And just now, as Mercury went direct and the full moon finally like ripened, there was this whole shift that happened. And it was like I stopped fighting it. So I went into like just surrendering into what was happening. And then the expansion turned into tightness in my entire diaphragm. And it's like all of the muscles began to weave differently. And the core of my being like entirely changed. And the reason I know is because I've been doing yoga now for like 6 years or something like that. And I've never been able to do headstand. Like for the life of me, I just look like a worm, like trying to like wobble into place. And I haven't been practicing yoga probably for like 6 or 8 weeks consistently. And I just put my hands like by my head and I was feeling the strength in the core of my being. And I'm like calling in all this energy that's coming from the full moon right now. And I just pop into the headstand. Like the strength within my individual nature, my sovereignty is starting to like expand. And so it's so interesting. I was like fighting it and trying to figure out what was happening in my body and like trying to get in it in my head. But then as soon as I had this conversation with my partner Rune, and he works with energy. He does Qigong. And so he taught me, this was another piece, but he taught me this practice about gathering energy. And instead of trying to figure it out, just feel it. So just like drop into your body. Don't try to name it and just feel it. And as soon as I started doing this, it's like that energy was like expanding in my body and then reconstructing me. Just incredible. So that's happening for me.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Intense, yeah.
It's almost like we kind of know our higher selves knows how to help us and heal us, and we just have to let them. Maybe there's a sweet spot, between trying to let, trust yourself into guarding, leaving negative energies from your space, and then once you're in that space, letting yourself heal you.
Definitely. And this was a part of it too, you know, because I mean, different chakras have different natures. So I don't mean to be like taking over the conversation. I know that the main thing was,
No, please.
okay, was sacral. And I feel like I did a lot of work with the sacral chakra last year because I had really unhealthy relationships. But it seems to be that it's kind of like I've done a lot of work in that area, and now it's like moving up because I've always been really activated in my higher chakras. Like I can speak really well. My throat chakra is like on lockdown, and my I'm very clairvoyant, so I can see a lot, and I'm very connected to the divine, but I've always been like really floaty, never able to ground things, as you can see, always late up for appointments, not very punctual, not very linear. So I've been calling it in. And another like aspect of this has been defining my physical boundaries. So it's like, what are my healthy needs? What are my desires? Who am I? And what am I here to bring? And I feel like the solar plexus, this reading is like a physical, what would you call that? Like the etheric realm. I've been working on all of this in the background, which was creating healthy boundaries with people, not just covering myself in love and light in an egg before I go out, but like if somebody, for example, is talking a lot and I don't have space to hold them, saying, hey, listen, you know, I've really got to go lay down. I love you. I want to hear what you have to say, but I've got to take care of myself first. Or like creating healthy routines for myself and taking care of myself first, like honor thyself, and then you honor another. And I used to be really self-sacrificial. And so I've been like doing this work where I've been trying to find out my unique core essence, because that's a lot of like the solar plexus energy. And then this like crazy fluctuation in the energy happened, I feel like, with the Scorpio full moon and the Schumann's resonance again, which just blew up our even measuring scale. It caps at 100 hertz, but we just went to 110 on Monday. So if you were feeling anything in between, like, you know, to as far as like anxiety or like being overwhelmed or having situations in your life that come up that trigger trauma in your life, like this is the nature of this time, like facing the catalyst of your own evolution and yielding to it and surrendering to the power of changeability. So amazing. I've just started watching Korra now too, which is all about.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. Jocelyn, thank you. Oh, totally. I just wanted to say, just Jocelyn, thank you for also sharing like kind of the astrology and the more of the global significance of it, because I think we're all feeling it. And like I was talking about it a bit before you came on here, but this week itself, the last like 3 days, like since Monday, as you said, has been like so profoundly changing, both in like realizing the results of my own past actions and then taking like dramatic changes to resolve these different changes within myself. And it has been like the last 3 days alone have like, I've changed so very much, and so many cycles are like coming to a peak. And actually I don't know if this is like, I'll just touch on this briefly, but like the with like big cycles of creation, like we're just finishing the tarot cards are like basically done now as of like today, basically, really. And I still have some stuff to write on the book or whatever, but like the card images themselves are like basically complete. And I'm actually with all of the other energies and everything that's going on, I'm actually planning on shaving my head after this call as like an energetic like grounding of this change, really, to try and like to establish a new me, basically. When you described like the Schumann resonance and the astrology with the full moon in Scorpio and everything, it's just it even further just connects and clicks and goes, yeah, okay, that's right. This is so you'll see a balder me the next time that we're on the call.
I was thinking about doing that too. I wrapped my hair in wool because in New Zealand, you know, they have all of these, there's more sheep than people. There's only 4 million people on this island the size of the UK, if you can imagine that.
Wow.
So anyway, wool is super cheap. You can get it for like 10 cents and it's beautiful. So I wrapped my hair in these New Zealand things that I've had for like a year now. And I'm like, I want them out, but they're like embedded in my hair. And I'm thinking of just cut it off. Just like shave the back of the head. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Warrior style.
Yeah. Actually, I'll also, in case those who didn't notice, Mr. Aaron, who had hair almost down to his butt.
I still haven't sent my donation in the mail yet. So actually, literally right here, have my 18 inches of donation.
Oh my gosh.
Used to be attached to my head.
Wow.
It's still crazy. Like I'm still getting used to seeing that, just because since I've met him, he's had like the long, luscious locks that that we're all familiar with. It's crazy.
He still looks beautiful, though.
Oh, of course.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, and there's another thing astrologically, if you want to hear about that, you guys want me?
Yeah, lay it on us.
So
I really need to jump off of here. I'm so sorry. And happy 11/11.
Don't be
everyone.
sorry. But yeah,
fun, and I will watch the rest later.
Beautiful, dude. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay. So and I have been tuning in as well. I'm such a nerd with like all of the fluctuations and the astrological events and all what's going on in the cosmos. So in the Mayan calendar, we're also having another potent time for this year, which is the 9th wave. On May 24th, I forget all of the alignments now. Forgive me because I'm just waking up, but because when was the last one? Forgive me. But basically, and it's setting us into the mode of the Vesica Pisces. I know that. So it's like the energetic, the point in which that we are going, scratch it. So our sun is moving through the universe like this. It doesn't just stay like in one spot. It actually oscillates and it moves like toward the center of a huge galaxy that is spinning like this. And everything is a toroidal field. So we have the parts that go up, the parts that go down, and then the core of it, which is a black hole center. And so everything becomes pulled towards it. And so our sun, again, is following that energy, and it is following this oscillation and going in these circles or cycles, which is what the Mayans were talking about. and it's spinning and vortexing towards the center of our galactic core, which sounds really cool and like it should be in a sci-fi movie, but it's actually real life, so it's even better. But we are going through another oscillation of like a turning point of one of these gateways of energy. And it's going to kind of equalize a lot of the energies that have been coming through. That's what a lot of the Mayan astrologers talk about. Even though the calendar ended, they can still predict mathematically what it would look like. So this is good news because a lot of the energy has been very chaotic with a lot of really big shifts. So it's like we have the big peaks where we have the precipice where we have huge breakthroughs, and then of course what goes up must go down, so then you go through the huge slump. But what is going to happen supposedly on the 24th is that we go we start going through these 60-day cycles. So it'll be quicker. It'll be more, you know, intense. And what I'm trying to do is create a point of balance so that like the ups are integrated and joyful, but they're not so much emotion that you go into the like despair, or like the, you know, the not knowing, the depression, the whatever that would come up as. And as these Schumann spikes happen, like they did on Monday, which is basically the heartbeat or the resonance, the brain of the earth picking up on cosmic radiation as we go through the entire cosmos. This has been scientifically proven to affect human physiology and like our thoughts. And one of the ways that it does it is that to get to the gamma ray, which is what we were just talking about, that 110, where you feel elated, where you see things more clearly, where everything makes sense, where you're able to use more of your brain, you have to go through the beta state, which is being more alert, feeling stressed out, feeling like there's doom and gloom, feeling like there's, so it's gonna be mastering, and there's new people on this call, so I'm talking about it a little bit again, but there's going to be the discernment, like the light warriors, if you will, have to start training their discernment of, because this is what was happening for me before this Schumann spike. I was like, this is it. I've got a disease. I'm dying. Like I just go crazy with these energies. So like, I was just like, no, this is like, there's a part of me that's dying. I just know it. So, and I was correct, but it was an ego dying. It was like a piece of me that was shedding away. It was a piece of the shell that was going away. And it takes that real discernment of like viewing it outside of yourself and saying like, all things are necessary. And this is a part of the evolution. This is a part of the path to reach the nugget of joy and like, deeper understanding, and then we go into it again. So it's just these cycles of like, you know, the sword being hammered into like, you know, just unfailable metal, and I'm just looking at it as like a warrior, like Joan of Arc. Here I am, like I'm ready, like let's do this. I will take it internally to be ready for whatever is happening in the, like whatever is happening and changing in the etheric, I'm ready to like physically transform and be like, you know, softened and hardened into being used for the change that's happening.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, very cool.
Thank you.
Is anybody else feeling this, or is this just me? Like,
I'm the only one with like so many questions that I can ask for like ever. I could be here for hours. But I had maybe a couple questions that maybe correlate to you, because in terms you're talking about the etheric realm. So would that be considered also astral projection? Anybody?
So,
you know,
does anybody else want to take this, or is it?
I think you got it.
Okay, so you know how everybody talks about dimensions? Like, well, first of all, yes. So the astral plane, yes, would be the etheric. Our body exists in several different planes at once. And if you've ever watched the documentary, What the Bleep Do We Know, which is like barely anything, but they talk about this experiment that they do where you basically, when we view a particle, it stays in one place, but it's really at many different places at once. And so this is kind of the nature of our physical body, you know? Like it looks like it's here, but actually there are several different layers echoed out into every part of existence that are existing at once. And so, and it's condensing, like we're at one of the lowest layers of existence. And this is why, for example, this is why it's potent to work in the when I say etheric realm, it's thoughts and emotions or feelings, because that's the layer that actually creates the physical. That's debatable, but like, for example, in the Jewish like mystery schools, like if you would look at those type of the way that they talk about the construction of reality is like this. There's the idea or the feeling first, and then you have to make it a blueprint, right? So let's take, for example, a Nike shoe. So, well, that's a terrible example because Nike is a terrible company, but I'm just going to say a shoe. So you want to build a shoe, right? This is how reality is constructed. So you have the idea for a shoe. That's how it starts out. Then you have the blueprint. So you have to draw it out, right? Then you have the workshop. So you have to test the model. And then you actually have the product that can be used. So these are like the 4 different immediate layers that we know of are part of the construction of how reality becomes physical. And so our form, if we would go back, like back and back and back, and even more and more, no, because it goes to like 12 or 13 apparently. But it just becomes less and less linear, less and less separated, less and less dualistic. So the way that we view things right now is so separated and so different from, for example, if you would go into the astral realm, how it, you can fly through walls, or you can, and you're flying. Okay, 1. 2, you're actually disintegrating into something that's a physical structure. So you're breaking the laws of what the physical world has around you. So anyway, so yes, the astral realm is a part of the etheric, which is, and so everything that we look up at right now has an etheric body. Like my couch is sentient. Like my couch can feel me sitting on it. In a sense, or like, like my plants are aware that I'm eating them. That was like one of the spirit science episodes with the Baxter, effect. They're aware. When we're thankful for our food, we change the way that it affects our body. We change the way that we assimilate with reality as soon as we realize that everything around us is conscious, which is crazy. Even Trump is conscious. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke, but
well, but it's still like, it's regardless of whether it's any of us or Donald Trump or, the people on the side of the road with the signs that says, please give me a donation. It's the same spirit that moves through all of us.
Yeah. Do you work with the astral realm, Karen, quite often?
When I dream, I've had so many crazy things and I just try to reach out to people and try to talk about it, and I just sometimes feel like it's one-sided. But yeah, sometimes I drop, and then sometimes I fly. So I don't know if that has to do with anything, and then I don't know if it's different from astral projection, because I've heard that astral projection you do it while you're not sleeping, but I don't know.
And where does the lucidity begin? So there's different layers of lucid dreaming. There's like,
start in my bed, I wake up in my bed, and sometimes I either sink or sometimes I just float. It started way back, but yeah, that's like I have been able to like come out, but not while I was meditating. So I don't know if that's different. And then I don't know if, I just don't know a lot. I don't know.
So you're talking about the waking at this point. You're laying in your bed and you can levitate your spirit out of your body. You can see the room. Okay, and then there's 2. So do you see your body or do you see the room?
I've never been able to turn around.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've never really physically seen myself. I usually either jump out of the window or something happens and I have an experience or I wake up.
Nice. Cool. So, because there's like several different points that you can utilize this too. Like you can use your higher self and then you can observe yourself. That one's pretty cool. Like when you hear about people that are on, they're getting surgery, and they see themselves.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and then there's also, you can go into your astral body, which is then what you're doing, and then like jump through windows and like go see Jordan, be like, hey Jordan, go hang out with me, have a cup of tea, we can have like, you know, astral body conversation. Just kidding.
I feel like most of my astral body journeys are mostly like creative, and I'm like, do these places exist? Because I've never like, sometimes I've talked to.
I want to hop in here.
Yeah, please, because there's a lot that I'm like, let's just stay here all day.
So a lot of the teachings that I've had in regards to stepping beyond, the term that they like to call it is transmigration of consciousness, where you take your consciousness from being inside of your specific body and you transfer this to another location using, we'll say, like the conscious grid is one of the terms that they'll use to describe this, but it's essentially like the field that connects all of us is alive and is conscious. So you change your perspective from being a part of you to being sort of like a vibration in this bigger field. And as soon as you do that, you can start going and creating and doing all kinds of miraculous stuff. But the interesting thing is all of those experiences at the higher realm still have to filter through your consciousness. Like in order for you to be able to perceive a thought or even vision something, it's still being processed by your mind. So that is when you have to start being able to distinguish. They describe this as like your ego interfering with source consciousness. It's a good thing, because if source was speaking, it would be almost so overwhelming to you that you wouldn't even be able to put two and two together. So it uses your mind and your thoughts and your visions as sort of the language to communicate specifically with you. So at this point in time, every time you step outside of yourself, you get the sort of opportunity to see your own filters. Because now the stuff that you see, the stuff that you experience, what happens in those astral realms is all based on, we'll say, divine spirit's connection through your ego filter to what you're experiencing. So there's like, this is one of the biggest things when you start dealing with actual astral projection, or like, we'll say remote viewing. This is very, very huge with remote viewing. To be able to put myself in another location and say, what is around me in this location? One of the biggest things you will find is most people will put their ego in front of it. We'll say, like the way that I would put this is like their own ideas of what they want to be there could potentially appear first. And so, yeah, I was muted for a second there. What happened?
I don't actually know. It said I, Salander, muted you, and I don't even know how that's possible. But
me neither. Regardless, yeah. So in a lot of cases, remote viewing, people will often
He used his astral body.
yeah,
maybe interrupt their own vibrations through this filter that they have on themselves. And so there's like, through the 21 masks process that Jordan and I was talking about before, that's like a very good meditation that you can now use to say, if my mind is taking this source information and processing it, and that comes to me as thoughts or comes to me as visions, how can I like reverse engineer this to look at my thoughts or look at that filter to get a truer definition of myself? So all the information that's coming to you is specific for you, but whether it's like objectively true in reality, like again, using the vision of remote viewing, if you saw something at a place, there's a chance that that thing is physically there, and there's a chance that your ego translated it to wanting it to be there. So you use objective reality now to try and see how correct were you. We'll say like, do a practice where you remote view what's in Jordan's living room and then send him a message and be like, yo, is this what's on your coffee table? Did I actually see that? Is this correct or is it not? And then if it's not, now go into yourself and go like, okay, what part of me now created that there? It's a very fun practice.
Wow. I love that.
That's great. Oh my gosh.
I might just add too a very small piece just at the end of all of the astral projection conversations of really like, because of the infinite nature of reality and the infinite spectrum of the dimensional scales, like there are so many times you can go into a meditation and find yourself in, you don't even really know where. Is this within me? Is this outside? Is this another planet? Or is this my perception of another planet? Am I, you know, like, is this another dimension where I'm envisioning another planet? Or is this actually a third dimensional planet, for example? And like, so many, or like this kind of formless infinite soup. What dimension is this? I don't even know, sort of thing. And really, it all comes down to like the experience that you have and the value that you take from it at the end of the day is probably the most important thing for your spiritual growth. Is a lot of people want to like, or at least I've seen in kind of conversations like this in my life, is, you know, people will talk about like, well, are you in the fourth dimension or the fifth dimension? Or did you go to the void? Did you go here? Right? And it's like, I can't even like quantify to you, like, how do I know that my experience of what I described as the void was the same as what your experience was when you described the void? And so it really is like your personal experience of understanding this at this point, at least at the very least, until we can collectively come to a place together and all have the same experience, that then we can like go, wow, like, okay, we all shared that experience together. And it makes me think of like one of Drimvalo's books. It might have been, I think it was The Serpent of Light, but I don't know. But he talked about how him and like a group of 12 to maybe 20 or so, like maybe it was 15 or something, meditators all went to like this sacred island somewhere in the middle of the ocean or something. And they went into like this deep meditation. Actually, it might have been in like Peru or Chile or something, but they all had the same experience of going down, of being like lifted out of their bodies into tiny spheres, like kind of shrinking down in size and going down into the earth and like connecting and like speaking with and like having this experience of like seeing this ancient underground crystal city that was like within the crystals themselves, like in the molecules of the crystals. They had like opened up into like this universe of like this crystal kingdom inside of the earth. And like when they came out of it, like 2 hours later or something like that, every single person in the group either had the exact same experience, except for like 2 of them who just didn't remember what happened. And it's like when that happens, now we can actually start to like quantify like the shared experience. But until then, you know, we're kind of like, wow, like this was my experience. I saw a planet. I don't know. There's so many questions. I don't know where it was or how it manifested, but
were they
out of
in
the
the same
experience.
place?
Yeah, they were all together.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's just like, you know, it's really like, what value are you taking from the experience? Was it affirming the multi-dimensional you know, like reality to yourself to help you like ground in sort of this newer rebirthing, kind of a new version of you? Or perhaps it was like healing, because like the experience that you had allowed you to like uncover some deep emotional blocks or mental, you know, ideologies that you were like, wow, that was like holding me back, and now I'm like letting go of that idea, or anything like that. And so, yeah, it's really like, what experience are you having and what are you taking from it?
Well said.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Thanks.
Mostly, Jordan, it would be like you in your astral projection video, and you guys like flying is one of the coolest things ever.
Yep, definitely.
I've never flown. I've only experienced like I used to have this thing. I think probably I would. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But I like hover outside my body, and this is like in real life, and I'm like looking at me talking to someone in a conversation. It would be like an extreme definition of disassociation in typical psychological terms. I'd probably be termed psychotic or something. But this happened after I had like a really huge trauma in my life. And I think that I wasn't really seated in my body. I didn't really trust my body. This is just I don't really know. Maybe I can have a deeper conversation.
Coping mechanism, maybe? Like you learned how to do that to like maybe take some of the edge off.
Yeah. Yeah. I was in an abusive relationship. So it was like I would pop myself out of my body to like disassociate. But then I was able to view, so I could see people's thoughts and emotions. Like I could feel them on a deeper level, and their motives, but I was also like separate from my own, and I don't know. So that's been an interesting experience to like witness that form of this reality.
I can say I'm glad you found healing and got yourself in a safe space.
Yeah, and the crazy
For sure.
thing was that I was working for someone at the time. I was working for a chiropractor, and I was a patient assessor. So anytime that I would be like taking their history. So I'd be like, okay, what are your mental or your emotional, physical, and chemical stresses? And anything that would be like a trigger to that trauma, I would just be like, I would be in the middle of like assessing them and like writing stuff down, and then it'd be like, whoop, out of my body. And I'm like, oh no, okay, like keep breathing. It's okay. Like, and just, I'm like drunkenly kind of like writing stuff down and like everything, because when I would go into that space, like my body would move almost slow motion, like, but it was happening in real time. It's just the way that I would see it. I don't know how to explain it, but over time I started giving my body more nutrients. So if anybody's watching this and they have this experience, you're not crazy. Your mind has disassociated, and so you're using a new neural network. So you need to just train yourself to tell yourself it's okay to come back into your body. And so I would do these things where I would like picture kind of an anchor, like a anchor in my body. And I would give myself all of these minerals that nourished my nervous system, because I knew that it was a nervous system thing. And I just trained myself to like bring it back into my body. But now I can pretty much utilize that anytime that I want.
Wow.
So, but
Shanti.
yeah, but it's interesting. Like the astral realm is weird for sure.
I kind of think of it as almost like, I mean, actually, I got this from Robert Monroe's probably Ultimate Journey, but like kind of describing like the different levels of the astral realm, or the thought realm, or like the realm of where, you know, that mental, emotional, we're all connected energy. Actually, now that I think about it, I think they actually like animated it in the original Dragon Ball Z series as well, because they were like, you know, you've got the earth, and then you've got like hell, and then you've got kind of this like middle plane, and then you've got like the realm of like the gods. And like Ultimate Journey describes it very similar, but of saying like you've got these three layers of like kind of the lower realm of like the hell, like lower dimensional beings and like lower thought forms, and you know, like more what would be deemed as like demons or what have you. And then sort of like the general, where most kind of average, like medium level thoughts or whatever, you know, not like super spiritual, holy, purified, you know, angelic thoughts or whatever, but those like that spiritual consciousness or whatever, that's like kind of just, I guess it would almost be seen as like a purgatory or whatever, but like your day-to-day average human kind of resonates to there. And then you've got like another layer above it, which is like when you're deep in meditation, or you're calling in angels, or like the angels, like the consciousness of angels themselves reside at that layer. And you've got these like three kind of dimensions within the astral realm that you can actually like all navigate regularly. And that's like, you go into a meditation and you start meditating, and like you can choose, you know, to put your focus on different places, both either whatever is resonant within your body, or whatever, you know, you want to resonate to, wherever you're striving to resonate to. And so you can go up really high and like connect and gain wisdom from above, or you can go down below to like understand, you know, why am I pulled to resonate here? Like what part of me is resonating at this lower level, and how can I elevate that? Like, how can I shift that and change that? And as you shift your own energy, you're actually creating ripples in not only the thought field, but also like the physical field, like the physical realm, that's going to actually go to make changes and affect people all around you too. Like they're, you know, the astral realm and the physical realm are not two different things. They're like one thing looked at it from different angles, really.
Beautiful. That resonates a lot. And I mean, Jocelyn, I think that if you can almost like just kind of snap your fingers and kind of be super cool in somewhere else, I think some tips for me that I've like done is like just jump and you're gonna float and then you're gonna want to like just go.
With flying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like obsessed with fairies and dragonflies and butterflies, and my son is obsessed with bubbles and birds and everything flight. And I've only flown once in a dream. So I'm like,
one more question for I know all of you guys. So I've heard different things about what sleep is. So I've heard masters don't sleep. But they, they just meditate all night and then wake up.
I've heard similar things to that. My level of understanding is, as a conscious being, the reason why we need sleep is because we're trying to steer our human with our egos, and in doing so, we're not breathing properly. That's the first thing. And in doing so, we're not pulling in the right amount of energy that's required to really sustain full conscious, like even supra-human experience. So as soon as you start behaving almost as a superhuman, you can start taking things like sleep out of your schedule. But in that, you have to replace it, because sleep gives you energy subconsciously. It's like you turn your conscious off, you turn your subconscious on, and then the part of you that's getting in the way of that natural source flowing is officially like stepped aside, and you can like recharge your entire system, and you can go into an energetic state that's completely uplifting. So if you can get to the point in your waking consciousness where you can recharge your cells through meditation, you no longer need to sleep.
Oh, I didn't know that you have to like substitute it.
You might even think about it a little bit like if you've seen the movie Doctor Strange, like when he's kind of montaging his like learning his different spiritual practices. Like there's that one shot where like his body's like, it is in bed, it is like asleep, but then his astral body's out there like reading a book.
Yeah, it's like that would make time like almost seem like, we have all the time. What am I gonna do for the next 3 hours?
But this brings it back to lucid dreaming. Because if you think about it, when you're lucid dreaming, you're conscious. So it's like you're in a very deep meditation.
Definitely.
So then the goal would be to like get in a very lucid state of like your consciousness. And then even more so to not to want to have the ego to control what happens in the dream, but just to be a witness of it. Like, what? Like, Rune is always telling me that a lot of people are liver blood deficient because he's a Chinese medicine therapist. And what was I getting at? And he talks about how meditation is more restorative than actually sleep. And those are the only 2 times that you restore the liver's like capacity. And that the liver is the place that holds the spirit, the Huen. So, and the Huen is the thing that can actually go out into wherever. It's the thing that that allows you, it's the dreamer. So it allows you to kind of go wherever you are. But if you don't have enough liver blood, i.e. me, then you like can't really fully come into your body. But anyway, like that just made total sense to me that the lucid dreaming would be the meditating while you dream. Well, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I would love to ask him.
I would only add to that of like, if you're trying to get to the state of like replacing sleep with meditation, there is part of that meditation. You actually have to meditate sort of like inside of your own physical body's organs. And you would start to like we'll say transmigrate into your liver and start like aiding in the function of your own body's cells to pull in additional nutrients and things like that to you. Because if you're not going to be getting it, we'll say unconsciously, now you have to be consciously like sitting in your brain and pulling in information and energy, and like going into your lungs and like pulling in oxygen, like taking time to go through yourself. Like you'd have to like aid in your body's utilization of the energy that's there. Like there's an active component where you can't like passively say, I'm just going to go off and have a fun experience. My body will be good by the time I get back. Like in this meditation, you like meditate into your body. You astrally project through your own nervous system, and now you're like a cell in your body helping stuff.
Because the craziest thing to me as well is like what you're talking about, Aaron, with the different organs, is like we think of our spirit as one thing. But in Chinese medicine, this was like a mind blown moment whenever I heard it. But is your spirit is different parts, like different organs represent different parts of different types of consciousness. So just like the spleen and the liver and the lungs and these are all separate systems that ultimately make one holistic like body. There's not just one consciousness. There's not one viewer in your body. There are several different types of consciousness, different etheric or different astral layers that are like coming together in your body. So the organ meditation, that's really interesting, like going into different states of consciousness through different organs. Okay, me and Rune are going to have a conversation about this.
That's awesome.
I can't wait till the next time we hang out. I'm going to tell you guys all of this. Thank you so much.
I wanted to say the same thing actually, because we're getting to the end of the call now. My battery's almost dead as usual, and just thank you, all of you, for coming and like sharing in this sacred space with us and having these conversations, and for all the new people as well. It's so good to meet, have like new faces and everything, and just thank you. This was a wonderful way to lift up my day, and I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Totally. Yes. Thank you everyone for being here. And Christopher, get your camera up next time, and hopefully we'll have you wearing your spirit shirt so we can see you in this. It'll be so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, actually there are new spirit shirts still available for anybody watching and wants to get themselves a sacral shirt, crystal infused and all. So, yeah.
We see you, and if you guys need anything, at your service.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
We'll see you all next time.
See ya.